If you want to learn the secrets of watercolor that nobody else is doing, then you need to watch this video. So this is a half-sheet watercolor painting of a forest scene, and I've spent hours and hours using masking fluid. I did a drawing on a piece of paper. I used masking fluid to protect the white of the paper and the lighter values. And I literally probably spent 6 to 7 hours just putting masking fluid down, using brushes to apply masking fluid, using nibs to apply masking fluid, using ruling pens to put the masking fluid down. So lots and lots of detail. Then what I did is I slowly built up the layers of color in the darkness by basically just spattering and throwing paint on top of this. Then what I did is I removed the masking fluid. Now what I'm doing is I'm going into here with something that's called the Incredible Nib. And the Incredible Nib it's designed to put masking fluid down, but what's actually really good for is softening edges. Because masking fluid gives you hard edges. So now I'm coming back into here and I'm softening some hard edges. And because this is a complex forest scene, I'm trying not to create patterns. I want some hard edges. I want some soft edges. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, it's got to be just completely random how nature looks. And then here's some kind of close-ups of the pictures here, and I'm going back into here with a nib and working on another area, softening the edge, just let that color creep back into here. What's really good about the nib is because the nib is not a brush, it doesn't absorb paint, it doesn't put it back down on the paper. It just pulls the color off a little bit and the color can spread. So you really can soften things without having to take off too much color. Now what I've done is I've applied some more masking fluid to protect the whites of the areas that I still want white. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pour some color on top of this. So I've feathered some edges, put masking fluid down, dried it. Now I'm taking yellow paint. I'm going to put the yellow paint on top of the paper. And I literally just squirt it right on top. Now I know people think that, oh, that's going to ruin everything that's underneath it, but this yellow literally is just going to sit right on top of that because we sprayed the paper with water first and then poured the color on top of that. And then you got to just let gravity do its thing and move things around. And I put the color on. I move it around. It's going to sit on top of all those other colors and create this beautiful glowing effect. And I go back and forth and back and forth. And if the paper didn't get wet in certain areas, just use your spray bottle again and spray it so you get water going all over. If the color's not moving, add a little bit more water. It's a balancing act because if you do too much water, too much color, a lot of the color underneath comes off. But you can see here, not much is falling off the paper. I'm controlling this, adding a little bit more yellow, get more of a texture, more of a glow, I'm sorry. And I just move it around back and forth. It does eventually start to make a mess when things do start dripping off the sides here. Again, if the color's not going a certain place, just spritz it with a little bit of water, the color will creep into there. And move it around. And this yellow now is really going to sit on top of these other darks, and it's really going to create this effect of atmospheric perspective. This is one of the things I love about this technique. And this is not a common watercolor technique. If you do this for somebody, they'll be super, super impressed. Like, where'd you learn that from? You can say, oh, Brian Fox. Though I stole it from somebody else. I wouldn't say stole, I just borrowed it from somebody else. It's kind of a pouring technique. So now I got to do a little bit of cleanup because everything's wet. I'm just making a mess, and I am dripping yellow paint all over the place. If you're interested in getting your hands on all the materials used in this demonstration, check out the YouTube video description below. And I just keep moving it around until I'm happy with what it looks like. And get things cleaned up underneath the paper a little bit more. This is a really fun technique. This works great if you work on 300-pound paper. I don't like the price of 300-pound paper, but it's super, super thick. It stays wet for a really long time. With this sort of technique, it gives you a lot more room for error on this because the paper is so much thicker. So I'm just taking a look at this to see if I'm getting a nice glow out of this. And then if you're happy with it, you've got to let everything get 1,000% dry before you go on to the next layer. So now the next layer is 1,000% dry, and I'm going to take a ball of masking fluid to remove masking fluid. That's the fastest way to do it. You can use rubber cement erasers, but masking fluid itself it grabs other masking fluid and pulls it off the paper. Now this does shake the heck out of the table, so when you're doing this, make sure your water bucket isn't too close to you. And what we're doing now is we're getting back to those whites we preserved before. We've got some hard edges, we've got some soft edges for you when we used the Incredible Nib earlier in this video. And we're getting the masking fluid off the paper. You can start to see those highlights pop out. The problem with masking fluid is because it's blue-green or other different colors, it's really hard to see what's underneath it sometimes. You just have to trust the process, and you just have to know that you covered it with masking fluid. So whatever you covered with masking fluid is going to be preserved. It's not going to get color on it unless you peel off the masking fluid and then paint directly on top of the paper. So we're getting back to the highlights. And we got to get all that masking fluid off. And I can't tell you, I do a lot of masking fluid in paintings like this. Every single painting, I put it into a frame later and I look at it and I'm looking at it. I'm like, what is that blue-green stuff? And I'm like, I forgot to get all the masking fluid off of it. So double check it. Go over this 2 or 3 times with your hand. Once you're done with the ball of masking fluid, just use your fingers because you can feel if there's more mask still on the paper. But you're always going to miss a little something. And I guess that's just part of the fun part of the process. And you just start peeling more and more off. And now I'm using my finger just to make sure I got to all the areas. Sometimes it's hard to see the masking fluid, especially if it's in dark areas. It might be sitting on top of darker colors. So I go all the way around until the masking fluid's off, and then I have to evaluate again and say, what do I want to do next? Do I want to pour more colors on top of this? Would it be done at this point in time? Who knows? I mean, you could do this for forever. Apply more masking fluid to protect the areas, put more color back down. These guys take a while, which is why I'm not going to lie, I charge enough for them, because I've spent 7 to 8 hours before I even did my first layer of color just using masking. And that's how big the ball is grown. And here's the finished painting. Thanks so much for joining me for this painting demonstration today. If you like this content, hit subscribe. I'll have more watercolor tutorials in the future. Thanks a lot and happy painting.